And what's up, YouTube? This is your man Azriel the One. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and please share this video with everybody that you feel necessary to share it with. I want to, get the message out there and go worldwide with it. We're trying to grow the audience a little bit more, so make sure you get out there, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that share button. All right, so let me just get straight to the point. Normally, I don't do response videos, and once again, I find I'm doing a response, but this time it's to the Revolutionary with Tattoos. And what I'm going to do, I may not do it tonight, but sometime during the weekend, I'm going to take the link to his video, and I'm going to put it in the box so you guys can go watch his video, see what I'm talking about. So this video is going to be titled "In the Defense of Robert Gentry," and my response to the Revolutionary with Tattoos. Now, I'm going to be very honest at the very beginning of this video. I can sit through the whole of this video, mainly because I just found the man to be very intellectually dishonest, very disingenuous. In fact, I think he pretty much set it up on a straw man argument, and that was around the thing of black on black crime. I defend Pastor Gentry, even though I am really not a fan of Protestant preachers these days, simply on the fact because it's not ignoring the facts. And I think I'm going to just use your YouTube name, The Revolutionary. That's where you lost sight of it. So you basically set this man's position up as he's saying he's excusing police brutality because on black folk simply because, well, blacks kill each other every day. And that's not what he said. And see, that's the problem I have with guys like you. You guys sit around and make the excuse that it's okay for people to carry on the way they've been carrying on recently because, well, we should tear up. The system's down to oppress us. And you come out with all these bullshit conspiracy theories with no exact evidence to back it up. Now, I wouldn't say that if you had provided at least links in the box to show where your theories come from. Now, do I admit, matter of fact, I won't say do I can admit forthright that there has been evidence in at least one civil rights leader's case where the government had a hand in it, and that is Dr. Martin Luther King, for which the government was found guilty. There's documentation floating on the internet. I admit that it exists. I don't know if it is substantiated. I would have to actually look it up in a court system and look at the records and see if such a trial did exist. But that's not what I'm going to contend here. What I'm going to contend is that you're basically saying that Brother Gentry was incorrect in his position and that he's giving a pass to the police brutality. Now, I will agree with you. This is not a race thing. But I've been saying that for quite some time, and of course people of your ilk have called me a coon. So all of a sudden, now I have to ask the question, if people such as yourself call me a coon, but then you just agree with my position the whole time in that one video, how do you define yourself? Because frankly, it's a bit perplexing to see such duplicity. Now, Brother Gentry pointed out the fact that in July, on the 4th of July weekend, there was 70 killings done that weekend in Chicago. And I feel, and in fact, I honestly understand his frustration, because you don't see Jesse Jackson, you don't see Al Sharpton, you don't see the NAACP, the Negro Leagues, all these people who claim to love black folk, when 70 families had tragedy the 4th of July weekend. Not one of these fucking coon-ass Negroes came out the woodwork and said anything about it. Now, am I going to say you did or didn't say anything about it? No. I used to watch your channel, then I stopped after you had that farce on the Tommy Sotomayor show and your response after the fallout. I stopped really, I don't even subscribe to you anymore. I actually watch your videos every now and again when I feel the urge to, and that's just because I now know what kind of person you are. Nevertheless, let's just get back to that point. You can't tell me that it doesn't have merit and that it's an excuse, because it's not an excuse, and no one ever is excusing that. I think honestly you're approaching this from the wrong perspective. I think that what you're saying is that Brother Gentry should not, in fact, point out the fact that every day black life is lost. And the most that we as black folks will actually do is talk about it. But when someone white takes a black life, not only do we talk about it, but we get our asses on the street. And you don't see that there's a problem with that? How can you then be calling yourself a revolutionary, someone who cares about black people, but yet cannot acknowledge the hypocrisy in that? This is what I don't understand. And it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Number one, if you're going to complain about how whites are attacking blacks on any level, race, class, then you have to acknowledge that we as blacks every day do this. Now, did you do it in the video? Once again, I'm going to admit I did not sit through the whole video because I became thoroughly disgusted with that proposition. My thing is, you can't down Brother Gentry for telling the truth because it's exactly what he did. And see, the common thread I notice amongst you Negroes, you know, the so-called revolutionaries being for black pride and black power, is that whenever a black man tells you the fucking truth, the shit that you don't want to hear, the first thing you call him is a coon. You know how I know? Because y'all black folk did the same thing to Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith ain't did nothing but tell the motherfucking truth. Do the same thing to guys like Hypocrisy 100, myself, Tommy Sotomayor, David Carroll, Painless Risen. Even though you may not agree with it because of how it is delivered to you, or the fact that you don't want to deal and engage with the facts, it doesn't change what it is. And I think what happens here is that you Hotep Negroes fall in love with the ideals of pro-black culture, but you don't want to fall in love with the dismal statistics, the dismal facts, the awful truth. And that right there shows how disingenuous you are. You can't complain about the facts, but then complain when somebody else is killing you. Let's just keep that simple right there. I think if you're going to talk honestly and you want to critique certain things, you need to include everything. And to your point, you said, well, we need to look at all viewpoints. And this is true. I agree with you there. But I want to caveat that agreement. Let's look at things that have substantial fact. Like I could go out tomorrow to the local library, and if I spent 4 or 5 hours in there, I could come up with the same results you did. Better still, I could do that in 2 hours from the comfort of my own home. If you're going to launch all these conspiracy theories, and that's exactly what they are, theories, then you better damn sure have some evidence that can back that shit from some credible authors and some credible sources in history. But the problem is, like most of you Hotep Negroes, is that you always cite off these wonderful ideals and conspiracy theories, but in reality, it doesn't hold water. Now, in the event of, can we say, for example, Dr. Martin Luther King, there has been talk recently about a case that the United States government was indicted and found convicted of Dr. King's assassination. Have I seen all the evidence for myself? No, I haven't. And I'm not going to propose that it's accurate or inaccurate until I see it for myself. But the point I'm trying to make is evidently clear. When you're talking about a lot of the race issues, and a lot of issues amongst Negroes in America, revolutionary, you need to acknowledge the fact that Brother Gentry said exactly what most Negroes do. He told it like he was. I am also such a person who has had dealings with the police. And yet, for some reason, I have never been jailed, though I've been detained. I've never been jailed. I've never been beat on. I've never been shot. And to answer your question about shouldn't we ask what the proper protocols are, Negro, you should know what those protocols are. And if you don't know what those protocols are, don't take this offensively, but probably because your parents have failed you. Because your parents should have taught you, specifically your father should have taught you when you are dealing with the police, this is what you do. And if your father has not taught you that, then that's no one else's problem but your own. Because if your father didn't teach you, then you should have gone out to learn for yourself. See, this is the problem I have with Hotep Negroes. They want to talk about a good game, those of your ilk, but they don't teach you how to go look for it for yourself. You brought up the point about knowing what the protocols are. Rather than say, well, why didn't he ask what the protocols are? Why don't you look? Probably, it's a reasonable assumption that this man either was taught the protocols by a male member of his family, or he went and looked it up for himself. And he knew what the police could and could not do. This is how your white counterparts can talk shit to the police and nothing happens. Why? Because he knows what the police can and cannot do. And your black ass does not want to learn what the police can and cannot do. In every event in the last 30 days, I don't really know about the Ezell Ford situation, so I cannot comment on it. But for Eric Gardner and for Mike Brown, these brothers could have done something differently just as much as the police could have done something differently, and they may have still been here today. We don't know. If the good Lord said, hey, you were going out anyway, it wouldn't have mattered. So let's not play the if this, then this. But let's just look at it from a logical position. In the case of Eric Gardner, if he had allowed the cops to just arrest him, he might still be here. If the cop that approached Mike Brown had have allowed the cop to take him in and made him earn his money, he might still be here. Or they still could have died anyway. We don't know. All I'm saying to you is, brother, if you're going to attack Brother Gentry, you might want to do it on the position of facts, not conjecture. Facts, not this whole thing of, I don't agree with you, you're a coon. Because what you sound like is absolutely fucking ridiculous. To be blatantly honest with you. You sound completely ridiculous. I just don't quite understand Negroes like you. I just don't. Because you don't make any fucking sense. Here it is, you're saying that this man should not have pointed to the fact that every day in the hood, black lives are being lost. Black men are being gunned down by black men. And your thing is, well, I addressed that issue. No, you didn't, because one video does not address the whole problem. This is something that's ongoing and needs to be talked about every day until a change happens. But see, Negroes like you, and again, this is not a personal attack on you, but Negroes like you feel that you can address it once and it goes away. No, it doesn't. See, if you ask me what I do my shit offline. I don't need the cameras to talk to my brothers in the street to let them know what's going on. Because anybody that know me, you go on Eastern Parkway between Buffalo and Ralph and ask them, has that man known as Azrael the one been out here on the street kicking knowledge? Trying to say what he says online, offline. The motherfuckers will tell you with a resounding, yes, he has. I put my thoughts and blurbs on the line just to show y'all that maybe if you think outside the box and think objectively, we can change as a community. But the type of dudes that you are, revolutionary with tattoos, the revolutionary with the tattoos, y'all, you're the type of dude that I talk about the most. Don't take this personal, but you have the ideology of a charlatan. There's no way you can tell me that we can't talk about black on black life being a problem and look at the disingenuity of blacks when a white person, specifically a white cop, takes a black life. And that person's cooning. You make no fucking sense, sir. None at all. I think I've held y'all for long enough. So I'm going to wrap it up I'm going to summate my point here. In any regard, whether it's a classist issue, it's a race issue, it is a gender issue, we as a community can never, ever afford to not look at the actions we take as a whole. What happened in Ferguson, what's happening in Ferguson, is a downright shame on many levels. It is a symbol of fascism rising in America. It is a symbol of classism taking its role in America. But more importantly, it is another shining example of Negroes refusing to police their own. When we can go out and blithely ignore how many black men on a day-to-day fucking basis kill each other, but we can complain when a white man does it, shows you that there are two types of Negroes in America. The ones who deal with facts and are going to call this shit out, and the ones who are still living in Candyland, thinking that if I ignore it, it'll go away. I got news for you. It doesn't go away. And until you start to acknowledge that this is a problem and then work with others to take steps to rectify that problem, you're always going to have the truth shoved in your face. And it's going to hurt your pride that you cannot refute what is true. So just remember that when you come to my channel looking for change, solutions, and ideas to solve your fucking problems, just keep this shit in mind. Change starts with one.